I don't want to sidetrack your acting stuff. You've done some legit acting credits too. Were you in Dynasty?
I was in Dynasty. It was how I got into the union. I had a detour where I spent like a year in Atlanta. I was like, oh, okay, like maybe you can be like a bigger fish in a smaller pond. But Atlanta scene is booming now.
It is.
But yeah, so that's how I picked up my first kind of network credit. But honestly, my booking ratio has favored the indie film world way more.
Yeah.
That was like my one thing. And I was like, okay, let's go network. And now I used to feel like, my partner, my husband, he's booked a lot of network shows. And I used to feel like, okay, I got to figure out a way because that's how you break in.
Yeah.
That's also how you get paid and you know, you get residuals. And indie film doesn't always do that. But
I want to know how that casting process was for you. Like,
for Dynasty?
Yeah. I could share it with everyone. I think
honestly, at that point, I had moved back to LA. But because the casting offices in Atlanta knew me and I still had my reps and I still went out as a local Atlanta actor because we had family there and we had retained like a mailing address. I was like, okay, I spent a whole year in Atlanta and this was pre-COVID. So a lot of the community out there is self-tapes. And pre-COVID in LA, you still had a healthy amount of in-person initial auditions. So that whole process groomed me to prepare myself for the self-tape world that we're in now. But most of the roles that I was going out for were still being booked by people in LA or New York.
Always. I'm noticing that a lot.
Yeah,
They'll still cast the leads, even though it shoots in Atlanta. It feels like they're still casting the lead out of LA.
Yeah.
More often than not. So I kind of was like, okay, well, I've planted a lot of seeds, built my network out here, and I will keep sending in work, but I haven't booked anything. And then literally, as soon as I got to LA, I got an audition for Dynasty and I booked it. And it was great because it was kind of, yes, it was like soap opera and it was nostalgia from like a show that was
So
you know,
much
a
fun.
classic.
This is Dynasty today, not Dynasty from 1982.
Yes, Dynasty was CW.
Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. But I kind of, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. But, and I was just so happy that honestly, I was just happy that there's something about getting into the union made me feel like I'm legit. It's not like a hobby anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, it was nothing other than like me having to then fly myself out and put myself up in a hotel because I was going out as a local actor. So,
So it was a self-tape.
It was a self-tape.
And it didn't have a callback. It was
didn't
straight.
have a callback.
They booked you straight
They booked
from.
me straight.
That is fantastic.
And as many people say, like, it goes, I was not very invested in the role. I was just like, I got to just.
It's always those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I try to, I was like, can I put that in a bottle and like drink it when there's a role that I really, really want?
Yeah.
And I can't. And it's okay. I believe that there's
I
going to
don't
be a
know, I
role
think
one
you
day
can.
that I do really want and I care about and I'll still be able to book it because, you know, you have people like Oprah that talk about the color purple and how she manifested that role. So I'm like, I try not to care, but then I'm like, I can't help it. I care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something interesting that kind of impacted me. You said it wasn't a hobby anymore. I always feel like I'm not in the business. Like as long as I've been in this business, I feel like I'm not even in the business sometimes. Like I feel like I'm the peripheral or I'm marginalized. But I know I'm doing stuff, but it's so easy to feel like that for some reason. And I think a lot of people have that same feeling.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome. It's hard.
I think it's more prevalent when you're in LA and you're around all these other actors and you're comparing yourself and you're like, well, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not because they're doing stuff. And it's a comparison thing and it's living in this town. Since I've moved out of LA, I feel like I'm able to confidently say, I'm an actor. I did not. In LA, I'd be like, oh, I do Ayurveda. I would do all my other skill sets and be like, they'll figure out maybe I'm acting. But now I say it with confidence. And because that has been my whole life. I've been SAG since 1998. Like, why would I not call myself an actor?
Yeah.
But in LA, I didn't. I don't know. All I can say, it might have been a comparison thing.
Yeah, because everyone's doing so many different things too. Even for me, when I leave LA, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're like killing it." And then when I'm here, I'm like, I feel like I'm just not even barely scratching the surface. But I'm like, oh no, I'm in it. I'm in it now.
Yes, you guys
Yeah.
are.
I feel like if you're always doing something for your craft, whether you're getting paid or not, or people are going to see it on your IMDb, you're reminding yourself that you are what you say you are.
Yeah.
So whether that's being in class, whether that's doing
Yes.
workshops, all of it, you know, you're putting in your hours, you're paying
Yes.
your rent, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen a progress in your own acting stuff since you quit Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I think as soon as I started breaking the ideas that I had around how you have to make it, when you have to make it by, whether you have to go the network route or this, that's when I started seeing progress. When I was just like, kind of what I just said earlier, where I was like, I just want to act. If that means every week I'm in 3 classes and I'm like putting in like 20 hours of work, it makes me feel like that's like akin to like being on set for 3 days,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
As long as I'm simulating the reality of what it means to be a working actor. And even your A-listers are not on set 365 days of the year anyways, you know?
Yeah.
So when I started working on my mindset a lot more, I felt like I started progressing. I also kept my ego in check, where I think this is some of my corporate strategic mindset, where I was like, okay, the optics game, having the best reps and who you're working with and getting all the laurels and going after all the film festivals, all of these things, which I did. After you kind of shed all of that, you're like, okay, that's cool for visibility, but like, are you making art that fulfills you? And are you like really investing time in that craft? When I started doing that, I started working with people who were in film school, collaborators that kept me in mind when they went on to do bigger, better projects, who now reach out to me and say like, hey, I've got something in mind, whether it's a feature or something. That's all coming from work that nobody's seen online. You won't see that in my credits, but it's private work. So yeah, I felt like when I broke some of the ideas of how I'm going to make it, I started doing better, because you just kind of come up with your own blueprint. I also studied like my muses. I went and like listened to their interviews and learned like, how did they make it? Most of them didn't have a cookie cutter route to success. One of my muses, Jessica Chastain, she talks about how she did so many workshops and she was such a bad auditioner. And she didn't actually get cast from a lot of her auditions. I don't get cast from a lot of my auditions. I get cast because someone saw my project in an indie film and recommended me, or I did a workshop in person and someone was like, ooh, but not from like your like, you know, the Dynasty thing, what so far has been a one and done thing for the show.
So, but you can do it. So you should believe in yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
If you have done it once,
happen.
you will do it. You can do it again.
Which
you
is why like
put it in a bottle.
auditioning is important.
Yeah.
And at the same time, putting yourself out there as an artist and generating art from yourself is really important.
And being vulnerable and like radically self-aware, because she also puts out a lot of just like even your writing and the depth and what you're actually going through on socials matters a lot too, because you're also like allowing yourself to be completely vulnerable in this journey. Like it's like the duality of like optics versus alignment.
Has there been like a seminal career moment for you where you were like,
Oh, for her?
For you, for you.
For me.
yeah,
Like where you felt like, okay, I'm legit, I'm official.
I think it's I feel like every time I produce a show, I just think it's like it's another step that I see of like, okay, I just produced a show in New York for the first time, sold out Broadway Comedy Club. And
which
that
is amazing to do.
Yes, it was so cool.
Congratulations.
It was awesome. It was the first time my family saw me do stand-up, which meant a lot to me. My parents had never seen me do stand-up comedy in their life. So I think when they see me, and it's like when you see me live, like I think something clicked in them to be like, of course they're gonna believe in me because I'm their daughter, but they're like, oh wait, hold on. This is what she's doing and she's good at it and she can create this energy in the room and stuff. So I think for me, definitely milestones of like when I opened for Zarna Garg, that was really, really cool because that was just like a solid, you get in there, you perform a good set and you get to open for a very respected comedian. But I think when I produce shows, those are big milestones for me.
I love that you said that about your parents because I agree. I think we look for like these like legitimizing, like, okay, I did something professional.
Yeah.
But when your family members who are part of your origin story and who have not seen you in this professional light are seeing you do this stuff beyond just like at a wedding or like at a community like performance that you did while you were growing up, and they're like, oh, like she's really good at this and she's going to build her career off of this.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like that moment of acceptance is actually like more validating and legitimizing because you're like, okay, my worlds are converging.
100%.